All right, now let's talk about today's topic, which is a living benefit riders. It's also known as accelerated death benefit rider. As the name says it is an acceleration of death benefit. It's a prepayment of death benefit. Very first question people have is that why don't we just buy long-term care insurance instead of having life insurance with this rider? Long-term care insurance, a lot of times premium is a little higher. Okay, it says higher payout. I'm not so sure whether that is true. I mean, if you have a bigger death benefit, you get higher death payout too, right? Um, but the biggest thing that I don't like about long-term care, and this goes with many people, is that long-term care, their premium is not guaranteed. Meaning, as they get older, the premium increases. It says a premium increases with the ages. Even if you purchase a policy today, 1 year from now, the premium can go up. It is not guaranteed. Whereas a life insurance, a lot of times the premium is a lot more controllable. So that's one thing that I do not like about long-term care. And the biggest thing about long-term care insurance is this. If you die, if the client dies without any long-term care condition, that money is gone. It's use it or lose it kind of deals. Whereas if you combining this living benefit rider with the life insurance, even if you did not use the living benefit rider, it'll come back to the beneficiary in the form of death benefit. So I like living benefit better, but there are times that people likes to compare with the long-term care. But we're gonna talk about living benefit riders with life insurance. All right, what is a living benefit riders? Living benefit rider is prepayment of death benefit. It pays the client when he or she has a critical illness or chronic illness or terminal illness. What is a critical illness? Critical illness, as name says it is a life-threatening condition like cancer, heart attack, stroke, organ transplant. I mean, each policy has a different definition of a critical illness, so you have to look at it, but that's what it means. Critical illness meaning that it is very, very severe illness that threatens your life. Okay, that's a critical illness. What is a chronic illness? Chronic illness, many times their condition is identical, if not similar, to long-term care condition. How do we define a long-term care or chronic illness condition? It's this. This is what I teach my agents. Just picture yourself as you get up in the morning. What's the first thing that you do? You get out of the bed, and most people go to bathroom doing their business. Number one or number two. It sounds dirty, but that's something that we have to do. Toileting. And after you go to bathroom, and what do? You take a bath or take a shower. Bathing. And then after you got out of your shower, what do? You dress up, right? You put a clothing on you. So it's a dress up. Clothing. And the fourth thing is after you dress up, what do? You eat, right? Eating. Like cereal, whatever that you want to eat in the breakfast. So you're eating. After you eat, what do? You get out of the house. You transfer. You move about. So you go to work. That's the five things. What's the sixth thing is that time to time you have to hold going bathroom for a short period of time. Let's say you went to bathroom and you had to do your business, and then the bathroom is locked. Somebody's in there. What do you have to do? You have to wait. Continence. Those are the 6 activities of daily living, we call it. Actually, it's a Social Security calls it activities of daily living. Now, if you cannot function any of 2 or more of the 6 activities of daily living on your own for more than 90 days, then you have chronic illness by insurance company's definition. Sometimes if it is a long-term care rider, you have a long-term care condition. And there's another condition that can actually put you into a scenario also. That is if you have Alzheimer, you have a cognitive impairments, that you're endangering yourself, that also as defined as a chronic illness. Some company will have chronic illness condition, and they don't have any condition. They said, oh, you have a chronic condition for more than 90 days, you will be qualified. There are other companies who are saying that chronic illness had to be deemed to be permanent. I mean, it all depends on your insurance company and policy, so you have to make sure that you read it. Okay, terminal illness. Terminal illness is that when your doctor or your medical professional is telling you your expected lifespan is 1 year or 2 years, less than 1 year or 2 years, depending on the contract. A lot of times 1 year is very common, or some contract is calling for less than 24 months. So if you have that condition, what you can do is you can ask life insurance company to pay for, make a prepayment arrangement of death benefit. So you can use it for whatever you wanted to use. Now, here's something that you have to understand. If it is a prepayment, that means there's going to be interest payment. Let's say someone actually got a prepayment of death benefit because of the critical illness. Now, he or she died 5 years later. So death benefit should have been paid 5 years from that point on, but insurance company is making prepayment 5 years prior to death. So insurance company will charge you 5 years of the interest. So that interest payment is vital, and you have to understand, insurance company has to charge that interest. Depending on how they charge this interest, there's different type of living benefit. One way is discounted benefit. It says discounted. Some company use this method. What it does is that they actually they calculate interest. So when the person has one of those living benefit condition, what insurance company will do is they'll review the client's health condition, and they calculate life expectancy of the client. And if the life expectancy of the client is 5 years, they'll charge 5 year interest, and they'll deduct the 5 years interest from the total payments. Let's say client has a $500,000, and he wanted to accelerate $100,000 because he has a critical illness, and that $100,000 will be deducted from the death benefit. So death benefit is now $400,000. Now he will receive $100,000 minus interest. Normally, the nominal interest rate is about 8% per year, is a compounding interest. So for the sake of our calculation, let's call it a simple interest rate. 5 years, if the calculated life expectancy is 5 years, 5 times 8 is 40. So they'll deduct 40% of $100,000. So client will only receive what? $60,000. Keep that in mind. His death benefit is reduced by $100,000, but he's only getting $60,000 because the interest rate is interest is already calculated into the payments. That's discounted method. A lot of company use that. Other company uses a lean method. Lean method is that they don't charge interest upfront. They charge first year's interest. If they say $100,000, the insurance company take 8% of 100,000, which is $8,000. They give $92,000 to the client, and client gets it. And a year later, and if the client is still alive, they'll charge you another $8,000, right? What if client cannot pay? If client cannot pay on the lean method, a lot of times what insurance company will do is that they'll deduct that $8,000 from remaining death benefit. That's what they'll do. It's the same thing if you really think about it, but lean method is a lot easier to understand for the client. Okay, Columbus Life and Emeritus Universal Life uses lean method. AIG, National Life use discounted method. And there are other companies like Nationwide, they use dollar for dollar method. What dollar for dollar method does is that it actually charge for the rider. For most of the time, discounted method and lean method, it is not extra cost. There is no extra cost for the client. But dollar for dollar method, you normally get charged on top of your mortality charge. So you have to pay for this. And a lot of times the payment goes something like this. One of the example that one of my client, he selected 2% of $500,000 death benefit. So if he get into the living benefit condition, he will collect 2% of 500,000, the death benefit, which is 10,000 a month, until his death benefit is totally gone. So dollar for dollar method is that. So a lot simpler to understand, but there's extra cost, so which will impact the client's cash value. It costs more. So those are the three methods. And here's an example. This is a discounted method from AIG. One of my agent's client had a condition. She had a bladder cancer. She has a $250,000 death benefit on term. So if she decided to take out $125,000, the new death benefit will be now $125,000, and the monthly premium will now be $16.46 because it's no longer $250,000. And out of $125,000, here's actuarial discount applied, which is $26,493.27. And there's admin fee of $250. So total amount of money that client will receive, instead of $125,000, she will receive $98,000. $98,256.73 to be exact. So this is a perfect example of discounted method. By looking at this, I can see that she is in very bad situation because the actuarial discount isn't that big. That means her expected life expectancy is not that long, right? So, and that's something to think about. I normally tell people not to exercise living benefit if condition is mild, because if a condition is mild, more than likely the interest will be big, right? Because your life expectancy will be long, right? And I also tell my client not to use living benefit if they have a big cash value. So living benefit is really, really useful when in the beginning of universal life or whole life or term insurance. Okay. Another thing about this is a difference between chronic illness and long-term care rider. They're different. You have to understand. Chronic illness rider is not long-term care rider, and long-term care rider is not chronic illness rider because of the tax consequence. They're a little different. So chronic illness will not be used for long-term care insurance requirements, like in the state of Washington. State of Washington recently tell everyone that they need to have a long-term care insurance. If not, they'll be charged extra payroll tax. If that happens, you need to have a long-term care rider. Chronic illness rider will not do it. The biggest difference is whether it is a reimbursement or indemnity. Most of long-term care is a reimbursement, meaning they pay you because of your condition, you incur costs. Chronic illness, they pay you because of the condition. You get sick, they give you money. Long-term care, you get sick, but because of your sickness, you have to use your money to pay for medical professional or medical facility. Then they'll reimburse you. Indemnity plan, you can use the money any which way you want. You can get that money and go to Mexico for a final trip, or Japan, whatever you want to do, you can do that. Okay, so indemnity is something that I like. Reimbursement is, but a lot of times reimbursement gives you bigger benefit. So big difference is a reimbursement or indemnity. Indemnity is something that I like, but a lot of times long-term care is a reimbursement. So they pay you up to that limit, but you have to have incurred costs, either your professional medical profession or caregivers or medical facility. If you don't use, you cannot use your money anything other than those. We're going to talk about reimbursement program next week with the One America, because I believe that they do have the best plan when it comes to long-term care rider. And not only that, they lowered their premium by 12 to 14% recently. So I'm gonna give you their illustration. Okay. All right. That's the end of the slide, and I'll take your question.